I never pay attention to it besides what I do. I don't like look around for street. I mean, I don't really pay attention to it besides what I do, and I just like do what I like to do. For 6 weeks, literally for 6 weeks, I had all of these dresses lined up on the same line. It was like a runway show. I had 25 baseball bats. I had all these bats back there. I don't see a whole lot of what I do. I mean, I see a lot of murals, but I don't really. And I see things painted, but I don't see like this kind of. I don't see this kind of stuff.
What's up, everybody? This is the one and only, it's the grand, incredible Mr. King Create from South Central Los Angeles, legendary style writer.
I am the LA-based street artist known as Wordsmith.
I'm known by J.O., and I'm a muralist.
I'm Evan Mendel, and I am an artist.
I'm Gus Harper, and I am an artist in Santa Monica. I live in Venice.
We're Menace and Ressa.
He's Menace and I'm Ressa.
Yes, and we travel the United States in our little bus conversion, and we paint murals.
My name is Bobby Sutton, and I paint murals, sometimes.
My name is Jack Alving, and I guess I'm an artist in practice.
I'm Jacob Johansson. I'm part of Curbside Research Institute, and I'm an enthusiast.
I don't know if I can consider myself a full artist yet because I'm still trying to feel my way through it, but
I really like fireworks, bowling. I obviously like art.
I'm from that generation from way back in the golden days of the LA Graff movement.
He specializes in graffiti lettering, and I specialize in more like portraiture and fine art.
I do a lot of different things, I guess.
I am a writer first and foremost.
First and foremost, I'm an artist, I'm a painter.
I'm a painter, a little bit of a sculptor.
I'm an all-around artist, you know. I just love to create in any medium.
Ceramics and drawing.
I was the old school b-boy. I used to break, and I still break.
And I do quite a bit of street art. Sometimes it's unsanctioned. I'll use that word.
Back in the day when I first started, I used to wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
And just get started.
Now they have like a lot of these like city programs where they'll pay you to like paint an electrical box.
But I quickly realized anything you do at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's a spotlight on you. So I changed it up. I started doing stuff in the middle of the day, like noon, 1 o'clock. And
so that's actually kind of funny because it's made it easy for me to just go around and put up my paintings like on electrical boxes without having to ask for permission.
It's important to do it without fear and just like act
like you're supposed to be there.
Yeah, or like act dumb if you get caught.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like there's so much art
Yeah,
everywhere.
what do you mean?
I thought
I
we
thought we
could.
could just paint it.
Or just someone told us we could.
I think I just do it out of pure joy, quite honestly. It's like another way of sharing.
I love creating, I love making art, and I like sharing it with people, and I like to get people's reactions.
I feel like it's my destiny. I feel like I have no choice, you know. This is what I've been doing before I could remember, drawing, creating.
I was looking for an active hobby.
We couldn't say we like hip hop and then don't embrace the MCing, the DJing, the b-boying, the graph.
I think people would be lying if they said they don't do it for themselves.
I mean, we do it for ourselves.
It's fun.
It can be kind of fun sometimes.
Is it still fun for you to do?
Yeah, it's still fun. Yeah.
It's fun.
It feels good. There's like an adrenaline rush that you get from it.
To be totally honest, I thought it was super cool.
It makes us feel like we're alive. It makes us feel like we're affecting the world in some way.
I'd like to think that we're also benefiting the community for the people that enjoy the street art or the murals.
Yes,
So
yeah,
Now I just want to make people feel something with my art.
Definitely when I found out that the words were resonating with people and affecting people, it made me want to do more art.
And quite honestly, I'm overflowing with art here in my studio. So I'm like, hey, let's put some out in the world where everybody can see it.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's better than just regular art. I'm keeping it on you.
Oh, yes.
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 Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No.
Most times. We love street art.
I guess it's cool, yeah.
Street art's awesome. Yeah, who doesn't love street art?
I love street art. I love street food. I love everything on the street.
I actually have seen an original Banksy, which was fantastic.
Oh, good question.
I don't know, actually.
You know, what's legal and what's not legal, what's like, you know, what's vandalism.
Do they consider it vandalism? And is it really? Because they're just trying to find somewhere that they can get noticed.
If it just looks pretty, then it's art.
I think it just comes down to aesthetics. So if I look at it and I want it to be there, then that's street art. But if you're doing it on my property, on my garage door, when I just painted my house, I don't like it.
The people who are bummed out about it are the people who like own the property, I guess, that, right? Like, so it's like for everyone else, it's like, oh, well, it looks good.
So if it's well done, people are like, oh, that's cool street art. But if you're just doing something crappy, so I'm like, oh, I don't want to see that.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
You got to raise your game a little bit because the standard of like what's considered good has really gone up because, yeah, especially in Los Angeles, the quality of street art is just so good now.
I really like when it's something like abstract and color.
If it's colorful, it helps.
Artistic.
Technique, something that pops. With like movement.
Bright colors, you know, smart use of shading.
With creativity mostly.
Sometimes I feel like the definition of street art is very broad and people use it as a term to lump a lot of different art forms together, you know, just because it's like
any art that's on the street.
Any art you see on the street.
A pretty kick-ass way for a person to express themselves.
So it just depends what we're talking about. If it's a mural, if it's, you know, graffiti, if it's like wheat pasting.
People argue that maybe graffiti is a type of street art.
Graffiti is the original street art.
And I think street art can both be legal and illegal.
Graffiti's illegal, street art's not.
Street art to me is something that's either like commissioned or done with like some sort of like approval. Graffiti to me is something that's like done in the dead of night, like in a sneaky manner.
Some of it is wheat pasting, some of it is using stencils.
That is illegal, you know what I mean?
But graffiti artists would look at an illegal wheat paste and call it street art because it doesn't follow the traditional rules of the sport of.
I like graffiti.
I have respect for it.
Graffiti's cool.
It can be cool.
Very much so.
Into that. It's art, you know?
It depends on the graffiti.
When I come across it like this, it's pretty interesting.
There's definitely different types.
More creative ones, yeah. Like really cool ones and really dirty ones.
I just think it makes everything look dirty.
Depending on where it is.
I'm a fan of graffiti when it's allowed to be there.
No. Illegal?
No, I like legal graffiti.
I like it. I
really
do.
haven't seen
I mean, I'm from New York City. I'm from the Bronx, so I see it all the time. And I think I like graffiti. I don't see nothing wrong with it, honestly.
Hey, there you go.
As long as it's tasteful and not hateful.
If it's creative.
If they took time and effort to make it, not just tried to destroy something.
If done artfully and with purpose, I think it's beautiful.
If it's stuff like this, then yeah, I stop and try to get a picture or whatnot.
They're damaging buildings that cost people money to have to fix it, no.
But sometimes when graffiti's on the building that's maybe plain or it sometimes need a little something to spice it up, the graffiti adds something to it.
Graffiti is defined as lettering art of people's names.
From the most simplistic form of just a simple tag of your signature to doing throw up, which is bubble letters or softy letters, to what we call mechanical wild style letters.
That
is done illegally.
That should be done illegally.
These guys are competing against each other and they want to win. They want to get their name up. They want to get all the clout that comes from, you know, being the guy that's the most up.
It started essentially as a sport, which is the sport of writing your name everywhere and being the most up, you know?
The original term, as we call it style writing because it deals with the form of taking the natural alphabet from A through Z, manipulating it in terms of letter connection, overlaps, transparent see-throughs of how you would do the letters.
These two worlds, graffiti and street art, are very in conflict.
I find what they do inspiring. They don't always find, you know, what we do inspiring or even tolerable.
Traditional mural from artists, I'll be like, man, I love that, that's nice. But then you got the other people who don't give a damn. They be like, fuck that, like I don't care about that, bomb it up. You know why they'll do it?
If you don't really have access to an audience, this is a way to go out and just get one.
The rest of the mural is there and people want to see it, but if they really want to look at that mural, they're gonna have to see them.
The spirit of graffiti is negative, you know? Is not necessarily always about uplifting your community. Like the sport of graffiti is very...
It involves like drug, death,
yeah,
people beating up each other, people stabbing each other.
Ego-based
like
sport.
You got two different forms where people use the same kind of tool, spray paint. So it gets a little tricky.
One represents like the grassroots culture of the city, and the other represents like gentrification.
Got a nice gentrified area like this is.
They used to be looked down as like maybe run down, not so cool areas, but there's so much street art now, and then the artists start moving in, then the cafes start moving in, and all of a sudden it becomes super gentrified, and none of us can afford to live there anymore.
Like people will say like it's a bad representation of what's going on there and like it's gang affiliated.
Problems with drugs and what have you, and gangs can kind of...
But it's also like there's a lot of cool art in street art, or in graffiti. And
I would regard it as art in a way, because it does take some form of artistry, especially with guys who do tag.
Because this ain't like this is some stuff that anybody can do.
Like it's not easy to do a big tag on a spot that's complex and has some depth to it.
It takes a lot of skill for somebody to pick up a spray can and do clean outlines, to blend colors, to do intricate styles on the wall. Even to do simplistic styles could become a challenge for people who don't understand style.
Because it's almost kind of like calligraphy.
Somebody might say, well, that's different, it's on paper. No, they missing the point. Whether it's on paper or the wall, it's the beauty of the style. Even though you can't read it, the objective is, as long as it looks good, tasteful, not a bunch of sloppy, this whatever-ish type work, man. That's what makes the city come out, pressure wash it, buff it out.
I think it looks even more ugly when like they do that, but then they don't even match the color of the wall. It just looks stupid. And I was like, you might as well just kept the graffiti there. At least it was colorful. Now you just have this like big gray block on like a brick wall, which looks really stupid. So I don't know. It's like pick your battles, you know?
I feel like graffiti as art, as like an aesthetic thing, is like, it's like people find it necessary because of like the ugly buildings that exist around them, you know what I mean?
I don't think there really needs to be a line because there's definitely artists out there who are doing murals that have a bunch of graffiti in it. Like, for example...
Like, if we did, like, a mural illegally, would that be considered street art graffiti?
Or would it be considered street art?
That's arguable. It could be both.
Yeah, because we do letters in our shit, but it doesn't say our names, but we still did it, and we still did it illegally. It achieves all the purpose, like, the purposes of graffiti, which is getting up, like, putting your name out there, fucking... It just doesn't say our name, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a bunch of artists who are doing, like, who are graffiti artists that are just doing murals. Like,
instead of getting caught up, they'll go talk to business owners and say, hey, is it okay if I have permission to paint this wall right here? Then people say, sure.
Like a production is where like there's graffiti pieces and characters in between, but it's done legally.
Because they'd rather see that versus a bunch of writing everywhere, you know what I mean?
So some people might argue, oh, that's street art because it's not done illegally.
And when the cops do pull up, they say, hey, you got permission to do that? You know, I don't even have to run. I'm real laid back and calm. I don't argue with them. People might say, well, that's not being a graph writer, man. That's not the essence of the culture. It's all about going out there and doing it illegally, Trust me, I understand because I did that in my past.
But like when you're 50, 55, like it doesn't have the same appeal. Like maybe you have kids, responsibilities, a job.
Yeah,
you're
you
not
grow
going,
up. You do
you
mature
grow up.
graffiti.
You can't go.
Yeah,
You have a kid. You're not gonna go all city. Like
what kind of future do you hold if you just desire to do that?
It feels like a natural progression for humans once, you know, we've invented the spray paint can to like want to like spray it wherever they're allowed and like make cool things with it.
If it wasn't for graffiti writers, we wouldn't know what to do with a can of spray paint. I mean, they paved the way.
Truth be told, street art wasn't really a big thing in the culture of style writing.
Street art did evolve out of graffiti.
Without a doubt, it's an evolution.
no.
Nah, well, wait, hold on.
But there's a definite, you know, pattern to graffiti. I mean, you're writing your name and you're finding all these stylized, amazing, creative ways to do that again and again and again. As street art, it's the same. I mean, if you look at my art, I'm using the typewriter in repetition, but when people see the typewriter, they want to see what it says above it. My words change. They're not always the same. So to me, that's part of the evolution. And the amazing thing about street art is that you can have an assortment of artists, you know, that are constantly doing new ideas and new works and putting new work out there, but you know it's them.
Murals are like it's a whole different thing, you know, like
Obviously, the artist considers the audience, and then the artist is also considering the design.
I like to do kind of like sacred culture stuff for that community.
If possible.
If possible.
Or if not, we generally like our concepts to be like meaningful.
Or like spiritual,
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Where I'm from, they're like commissioning a mural in a tunnel right now, and it's like the public gets to vote on these ideas, right? Like a bunch of people pitched ideas.
And sometimes when it's up to the community to vote, you don't always get like the best artist chosen as well, you know?
And when it becomes art by committee, like let's say, for example, I'm going to do one on the side of a building, and all the tenants of the building want to weigh in and give me their suggestions of the images that should be in the mural, then I'm going to have suggestions from 30 different people. So in trying to please everybody, I'm going to please nobody.
I think it'd be wise to have the artist maybe have the final say.
And it's up to people to judge if, you know, they agree or if they like it or not.
No. At the end of the day, it is for the people who are seeing it, right? Like the artists.
So we're everywhere, but the people that's gonna see the art, they can't go anywhere. That's just where they are. So like,
a massive wall is an opportunity to like bring value to the people who live there and the space that they live in. So I think
you can either make or break somebody's day, you know, with a can of spray paint.
The Bo Stanton case that happened in Los Angeles like a couple of years back, they had a whole bunch of artists paint LAUSD, the campus or whatever.
The campus is in Koreatown.
Yeah, a bunch of famous artists painted, like Tristan Eden and
Shepard Fairey was obviously like the biggest.
He makes a political poster, and it's the Barack Obama Hope poster.
So there's this dude named Bo Stanton, and this is style. He paints like shit, and then like
he paints
like rays coming out from behind it, right? Like sun rays, you know? And like everywhere else, the sun ray shit is cool. But in Koreatown, the sun ray shit reminded all the Korean vets about Japanese occupation because the sun rays was a Japanese flag. Like a Korean organization for Koreatown, like protested and tried to lobby to get that shit removed.
So,
Koreans in World
in
War
solidarity with Bo Stanton,
Shepard Fairey
threatened to go over his mural if they went over Bo Stanton's mural as like solidarity, like, oh, we have solidarity with Bo Stanton because those Koreans are trying to destroy his artwork, even though art should be
For the
like
people.
for the people and
You
like
know?
There should be some like a lot of time and thought put into it.
It just was like not a good choice of like, you know, just bad, just didn't think about it. And I don't blame him for not thinking about it, man. Like,
even if you didn't intend that, the impact is people did get offended, do feel oppressed. What are you going to do about that? We were really impacted by that because we realized how little people care or respect the elders of our community, and that's really unfortunate.
Or rather, we realize that some of these more famous artists care more about their own artwork
than they do about the community
that it affects. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, he ended up changing it, but it's like he got rewarded for changing it, which is fine. Like he could get, it's cool. He got, so it's not like he lost anything. Like he didn't, you know.
It's great. It's a good thing, right?
It's needed, and it's all the way awesome. All art is all awesome.
I think it makes the world a brighter place. I mean, I think it totally changes the atmosphere of wherever you are.
I think it gets people to think about creative aspects, possibly.
I think it's an important kind of building block for areas as well to attract new places.
Yeah, it's character.
Color.
Memories.
You know, history. Culture.
Beauty between concrete.
Yeah, I was gonna say a breaking up of the monotonous or the dreariness.
I bring people joy and enjoyment, meaning of life.
I feel like it makes people happier when you see street art, you know, like kind of just lights up the mood a little bit.
Brightens it a little bit, you know? And just make you feel a little like pep in your step.
And people will gravitate toward it. They'll want to see it, put hands on it, take pictures of it, and I think it's amazing that art can
promote and move civilization forward.
Creatives don't get like a ton of credit, but I really do think that it kind of like reminds adults how to have an imagination and, you know, inspires kiddos. So
because a lot of people smile when they see it. Little kids in particular, when they see this, when they see these like circles and squares and just like pasty things, there's something that's scattered in their head. It's like electricity to go and their head just like all lights up. So
it's almost to the effect of meeting somebody, you know what I mean, where everybody wants love in their lives, and you have that moment, that spark that first happens when you meet them, you know, often unexpectedly.
the more people who see it, and more people who have access to art, it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, and a lot of really important political messages is what I've noticed is done through, you know, street art and graffiti.
But sometimes, you know, you might not be making a big political movement, you might just be making somebody laugh, and that's good too.
I like to use the people's reactions as like a gauge from the universe to if we're working correctly or not.
Like, I made this painting that I wheat pasted on an electrical box. For me, when I was painting it, I was just like, I wasn't thinking too much about it. It just sometimes what comes into my head, I just put on like the canvas, and then people read into it and come up with like stories themselves. I got a message on Instagram from this girl who was like, I just came out of like this bad relationship, like all these things happened to her that she saw in this painting, and she literally thought that like I made it for her.
I feel like there's different meanings to each piece, and people find their own meaning to it.
It might resonate with them.
It's how we connect to it.
That's like what art can do, I guess, you know?
And I hope all artists are using that power to bring happiness to this world and inspire people. Man, without public art?
That's a good question.
Without art, man, I don't want to know. Like,
it'd be a terrible place.
Yes, not a colorful, beautiful place.
Dark. I don't know, dark. What would be the world? A lot of frown. I don't know. I see a lot of people smile, so it would be like no smiles. It'd be like not many people smiling.
Very sad and boring, I think.
all work. I think people would be strictly about making money. It kind of soulless a little bit, I think.
Would be like a bunch of like fucking robots.
The world would be a dull place without any art at all.
No joy and creativity and depressed people and...
You know, everything would just look bland, rectangular, and just...
I mean, what is art?
Art is in our everyday life.
See, I think a lot of things can be considered public art. Like even the architecture of buildings, you know? It just doesn't just stop at paint on walls simply.
From the cars we drive, the shoes we wear, the houses we live in, the architect, music, cooking, martial arts.
Speaking is art. Like having a conversation with you, like the words that I'm choosing, like how I'm speaking to you, like this is expression of what's going on in my head.
A lot of people like now, they like to think about, is there extraterrestrial life? Is there life out in someplace out in the universe? And it kind of, it's funny how the consensus now is, of course, the universe is so big, there has to be life. Will it be intelligent life? If they have art, then we know that they're intelligent life. So
like we can't really separate ourselves from art. Like we are literally like, it's just a part of us, you know? So it's like, even if you try to suppress it or something, like it's just gonna come out in a different form. And it's like just part of being a human, so.
So if we took art away, then this world would just go down the drain.
What would even be the meaning of living at that point, right?
Yeah, it would be life, but it would be lifeless.
Yeah, it would make the world a shitty place to live, in a nutshell. That's
Yeah. So we need to just spray paint everything.